Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
This entire series of episodes, we've been building something, a mindset, threshold practice, a minimum viable environment, and how to create a group experience where the threshold is crossed and, elevated work begins. And I want to name kind of what all that's been in service to, because every one of these steps isn't the point. Everything we've built this week, preparation, the environment, the threshold, all of it has been infrastructure for a single moment. The present moment, the moment you stop managing and start being. We've spent a lot of time creating this space, but to live in that space, to begin the process of doing that work is something that as a culture, we tend to avoid because we talk about this productivity outcome focus. What we're really doing in the present moment is surrender. And for a lot of work, a lot of people, that word carries a big negative charge. Surrendering to the present moment doesn't mean losing all your faculties. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean giving your will over to someone else. What it means is it's a letting go, a divestiture of the back and forth tension of needing something to be done, so much so that it distracts you from doing it. This is the creation of flow. You have set the stage for all of the work to start, and now you have this opportunity to begin that flow experience. That Clubhouse example we talked about in episode 3, when the moment took over and the environment disappeared, that was not like perpetual optimizing. That was surrendering to the present moment. You stopped managing the experience and became a part of it. We have a name for what that feels like in the lodge. And we call it being on the level. That means everyone's operating. It's not a metaphor for fairness or a description of, how we resolve inequalities in society. It is a description of the state that we are in. We are all operating on the work at the same level. There is nothing above the work and nothing below the work. It is the work on the level. When we do this together, the experience as a group is profound. We talk about it a little bit in our ritual, this notion of sublime silence, that when the temple in Jerusalem was built, that no tools of metal or iron could be heard, that in sublime silence our ancient brethren reared the sacred temple. We talk about this experience. And when we get the environment set correctly, when we create space correctly, sublime silence emerges. Now, I want to be quite clear. It need not be silent. So I was recently tasked with creating a program for our new members, and the cleanup crew had just as much fun, blasting AC/DC and moving chairs around in a elevated state as you would have had if you had attended the event and eaten the dinner. The elevated experience doesn't need to be silent per se. It needs to have everyone operating on that level. When you have surrendered to the moment in this way, The work is obvious. The challenge is manageable. The people you're doing it with are all on the level. The entire experience becomes this highly codified and concentrated memory that you don't necessarily remember how many things you did or what the nature of how the work divided out. You're not thinking about the transactional mechanics of any of it. You are thinking about the experience and the transcendent experience of having surrendered to the work and achieved something great by yourself or with others. And that leads us to our topic for next week, where I will see you then.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.